Alright guys, finally got some parts in. Let's see what we got. So I got the valve cover gaskets, and then I know I said I was going to get the power steering pump. I didn't do that, naturally. I just got these replacement power steering lines since, honestly, the pump, I think it's good. It did whine a little bit before, but as you can see, well, it's kind of dark in there, but yeah, they're definitely leaking. So I'm just going to swap those two lines and see what we can do. But I guess first things first, let's get to disassembling this thing. Well, that's not good. All right, now that we're working with a little more room, first thing you're going to want to do is obviously take the intake off. Then you're going to want to go ahead and get this radiator hose out of the way. Gives you a little bit better access to the valve cover here. After you get that radiator hose off, you want to take this. So it's pretty easy to get off, it's just 3 bolts. So you got these two, and then there's one more down here. Then obviously disconnect the plug wires from the top, and it should just pop right off. Oh, and then there's this guy too. I believe it was a 5.5 mil bolt that I had on there to disconnect this, and then this plug just came right out the side. Alright, and then because I'm phenomenal at recording, I didn't record taking the intake manifold off, or draining the coolant, or pulling the coolant lines. But basically, there's a little, you can kind of see it right there, little, what do you call it, plug for the radiator. That's the one. Now, unscrew that a little bit, it should start draining. Now, since I've never worked on one of these before, I didn't really know that. So the drain's right there, the coolant's going to dump over here though. Comes right out the end of that, if it's just trickling out. So fair warning, when you guys drain that, make sure your pan's on the other side. Now, like I said, really all I did was just pull this heater line out, and I popped this coolant line that kind of wraps around the alternator there. And as far as taking off the intake manifold, it was super easy. So there's just 6 bolts. You can see them here. All I used, I think it was an 11 mil with a 6-inch extension. I was able to get all those out pretty easy. And then there was a bolt on this hard line here that was attached on the top of the intake manifold. Other than that, I mean, there's a few plugs and vacuum lines, but fairly straightforward. I also did get this valve cover off already without recording it. Now that one, I know there was a few tricky bolts. This one up here, and then the one kind of in the back. It's just an awkward angle back there. And then you kind of got to fish it out between all these wires and plugs and fun stuff. But other than that, not too bad. And just going off looks, I think this one's going to be a little bit easier. So the only thing that I'm worried about is there's one bolt kind of back behind here. There's another one under this harness, which is stuck under that. So, and also the loom's kind of falling apart, but that's fine. If that falls into your valve train, that's what the vacuum's for. Otherwise, front bolts are all pretty easy to access. You just got 4 right along there. And same thing, 4 on the back. You can't really see them under the harness, but there's 2 of them. And then, like I said, 1 right under here, 1 right on the corner. And I should add too, all the videos that I've seen, when everyone's pulling the upper plenum off the intake manifold, most of those guys are leaving the gaskets. Usually I'm not one to leave a gasket, but these look pretty new, so I'm just going to throw it back on there and just kind of hope that it seals. So we'll see what happens. One thing I definitely recommend when you're working on something like this, because it's an older rig, a vacuum is very handy. The last thing you want to do when you're working on your car is drop a bunch of stuff down into your valve train with no way of getting it back out. It's just a good thing to have with you. Okay, this is just a separate video for myself. These studs go there and matched on the other side. Top left or top right, whatever way you want to call it. They go right there. Don't be an idiot. Put them in the right spot. Just like that, I got all the bolts out. That guy should just pull right off. Oh, maybe. Maybe. Oh. I'll be right back. Now that I got most of the way out, just clock this end up so it doesn't hit the trans fluid dipstick. I just struggled with that for about 5 minutes because I'm an idiot. Okay, it wasn't 5 minutes. I'm exaggerating, but it was probably at least 1 minute. So that's basically rounds up to 5, roughly. And there you have it. So as far as at least removing them, it's really not too bad. Just drain your coolant, couple coolant lines, couple plugs and vacuum lines, and 6 bolts, pull your plenum off, and should be pretty good. I think this took me about 30 minutes, 45 minutes in total. Just taking it off, and then reassembly is pretty straightforward. Like I say, you just got the 8 bolts per cover. Another 6 bolts for your intake plenum. Throw the radiator hoses back up, top her off with coolant, and you should be good to go.